The present PCG organization today is a metamorphosis of the Bureau of Coast Guard and Transportation that was created on 17 October 1901 under the American occupation by virtue of the Philippine Commission Act No. 266. This bureau was then abolished and changed the Bureau of Navigation on 01 November 1905. With further government reorganization, the Bureau of Navigation was again abolished, with its function divided between the Bureau of Public Works and the Bureau of Customs. Such reorganization resulted in conflict among the delineation of authority. Until 10 October 1967, this conflict was resolved with the advent of Republic Act 5173, creating the Philippine Coast Guard as a major unit of the Philippine Navy. The Coast Guard's task was to assist in preserving national sovereignty through its marine patrol operations. As known to the public, the Philippine Coast Guard's function is entirely different from its mother unit, the Philippine Navy. The Coast Guard is the country's premier agency dedicated to promote safety of life and property at sea, thus non-combatant in nature. It specifically performs policing the country's coastal waters and concentrating its campaign against criminals at sea such as illegal fishing, smuggling, piracy, destruction of coral reefs, removal of navigational obstructions, overloading of passenger ships, the protection and preservation of marine resources, and the protection of life and property at sea. While on the other hand, the Philippine Navy is a government force mandated to protect and preserve national security through naval defense. Realizing that the task on hand was a gigantic one, the Philippine Coast Guard embarked on the idea of creating and organizing a force multiplier of the Coast Guard to be composed of civilian volunteers from the maritime community. Their concept was to educate selected civilians to lessons in life-saving, aids to navigation, and sanitation at sea in order to perform duties and assist the Philippine Coast Guard in the discharge of its mandated function. Thus, on 10 May 1973, the 1st Auxiliary Coast Guard Squadron was activated at the Manila Yacht Club. Its office was then at the main building of the Secretary of National Defense, which at present is the headquarters of the Philippine Coast Guard at 139 25th Street, Port Area, Manila. Auxiliaries, as the term used today, assist the Coast Guard in non-law enforcement programs such as public education, vessel safety checks, search and rescue, legislative undertakings, attend international meetings for Coast Guard auxiliary organizations, and other humanitarian duties such as aiding mariners in distress, and civic activities such as medical and dental missions, among others. Having recognized the Coast Guard Auxiliary's significant contribution to the Philippine Coast Guard organization as an alternative source of both personnel and equipment in times of national emergencies, expansion to the Visayas and Mindanao area had been prioritized. Thus, the 2nd Auxiliary Coast Guard Squadron was created on 05 August 1973 in Cebu, followed by the 3rd Auxiliary Coast Guard Squadron on 19 June 1975 in Davao. Succeeding activation of different Coast Guard auxiliary districts and squadrons followed. Auxiliary is also projected to be attuned and fully responsive to the current PCG organization. The Coast Guard Auxiliary has always been the Philippine Coast Guard's dependable ally and partner in the promotion of the Coast Guard's mandated function. For years, the Coast Guard Auxiliary had always been in tandem with the Philippine Coast Guard not only during maritime disasters, collective commitment to safer ships and cleaner seas. And once more, we kindle the spirit of volunteerism to each and every one of us that would lead the Philippine Coast Guard and the Coast Guard Auxiliary serve as the cutting edge of the modern maritime environment. Mabuhay ang Philippine Coast Guard at Bravo Zulu ang Coast Guard Auxiliary.